plenty of times when a starving Chrissy had felt the need to send a uniform off to the nearest chippy while still working a scene. If Rhona arrived home hungry from a long day at the lab, she went straight for the menu cards in the kitchen and ordered whatever would arrive the quickest. Not tonight, however. Tonight she'd come home to the scent of slow-cooked venison in red wine, with mushrooms, garlic, onions, carrots and potatoes, prepared by the man opposite. Sean Maguire, the dark-haired, blue-eyed saxophonist, who, although they weren't actually living together, did on occasion both feed and bed her. This evening the sex had come first. Sean indicated her almost empty wineglass, offering to top it up. Rhona nodded as another blast of rain hit the kitchen window. "Jeez," Sean said, "that's one serious wind." According to the radio update, Glasgow wasn't in the direct line of the storm sweeping in from the Atlantic, although the forecaster did mention the great gale of '68, when many of the tenement buildings similar to Rhona's had had their roofs torn off by the strength of the wind. On this occasion, it seemed the worst of the storm was hitting Orkney, where gusts of over 90 miles an hour had been recorded. At this point, Rhona wondered how Magnus's house, Sea View, was faring, built as it was on the shores of Scapa Flow. "Has Magnus gone home for the Easter break?" Sean said, reading her thoughts. "He usually does." A professor of criminal psychology at Strathclyde University, Magnus Pirrie liked to return to his native island whenever he got the chance. "I'll maybe check on him later," she said. "Make sure he's not blown away." As Sean began to clear the table and stack the dishwasher, Rhona intervened. "I'll do that. You'd better get ready for the jazz club. Although judging by the weather, you may not have much of a crowd tonight." "The diehards always turn out, come hell or high water," Sean reminded her. "You're going to get soaked," she warned. "Maybe you should try for an Uber." "No worries. I've got dry clothes at the club." Sean glanced at the window as another blast of wind and rain rattled the glass. "Though if it carries on like this, I might bunk down in the back office afterwards." Rhona tried not to look too pleased by that, although she had been planning to suggest he go home to his own flat tonight anyway. Sean was observing her, a small smile playing on his lips. "You're done with me for tonight, I take it?" Rhona smiled her answer. "Then I'll be gone." She followed him into the hall and watched as he dressed for the weather. He gave her a hug and reminded her to call him. "Of course," Rhona promised, though not saying exactly when that might be. He opened the door to the shriek of the wind in the stairwell. "The garden door hasn't been shut properly," Rhona said. "I'll bolt it as I go out," Sean promised. She watched as his tall figure headed down the stairs, perturbed that she was glad to have the flat to herself again. But hadn't it always been like this? Even from that first night when they'd met at D.I. Bill Wilson's 50th birthday party at the jazz club and she'd taken Sean home with her. There had been a few times since then when their on-off relationship had appeared to be at an end, but then the positives would persuade them back together again. She was pretty sure Sean didn't spend much time fretting about where he stood with her. She, on the other hand, probably analysed it too much. As the shriek stopped, signalling that the back door had been shut and bolted, Rhona headed inside and, fetching her wine, took it and her phone through to the sitting room, where the gas fire was dancing in the draught from the chimney. Sitting on the couch, feet up, Tom the cat on her knee, she pulled up Magnus's number. His voice, when he answered, was rich in its Orkney heritage. When in Glasgow, he usually modified it, dropping the descriptive phrases so reminiscent of his native Isles. "Describe the wind for me," she said after his welcome greeting. "Well, here in Orford, we might call it a screever. Across on Hoy, it would likely be called a catrisber. The UK weather forecasters are referring to it as Birka, which is, as you know, the name of a female Viking, so not a bad choice." "What's Scapa Flow like?" Rhona said. "Pretty angry," Magnus said, throwing her wrath at the back of the hoose as we speak. "How's my favourite?"